Greetings, folks. Mason Weaver here. Another segment of the news. We're going to start doing these on a regular basis in the mornings. Today is Friday the 13th. Ooh. You're afraid of dark? Why did they call Friday the 13th Friday the 13th? I've heard all kind of explanations and reasons why, and everybody's an expert on it. The one that's most interesting to me was that Friday the 13th was unlucky, which means Lucifer, by the way. Unlucky because there are 13 people at the Last Supper. It was on Friday, and Jesus was killed. 13 people, the 12 disciples and Jesus made up 13 people, and that's why they call it Friday the 13th. That makes more sense than the rest of the nonsense I've heard. But first, this is not the news. The news is about the Supreme Court, but just the Friday the 13th thing gets on me every time it pops up. We don't know how many people was at the Last Supper, number one. We had people serving them and everything else there, so I don't know how many were there. And it certainly was not on Friday. So the Last Supper was not on Friday, and it's probably not 13 people, and it most certainly was not unlucky. It was not bad. It was good for mankind that he went to the cross. It was not a tragic that he did not live forever among us sinners, that he actually went back to the God the Father as the ruler of this world to be given to him to save us from eternal death and destruction. So Friday the 13th was a great day if it existed. The fact that Jesus died was a good thing. Now, back to the news. First, subscribe to this broadcast. Things are going to get really, really, really bad, and I want you guys to understand how to get the information you're going to need. Our website, Leave the Plantation, is a news site. I own a news company, Mason Media Company. We produce videos and interviews and speeches and books. So I have access to a lot of things as a media company. And on our website, not Mason Media, it's a different company. But LeaveThePlantation.org is an organization that you can join to get updated news now. So go to the site and you will see the news there, but also we have 4 different sections. We have political, social, economical, and spiritual. You click on any one of those and you get news in that category. So if you're only interested in political stuff, you click on that and you get news coming up now, which is where I found information for today that the Supreme Court may be as early as Monday releasing the verdict that all these liberals are going crazy about. I think it's really interesting. Would it be interesting if they were going to contemplate a little more, deliberate a little more? But now you're outside their homes protesting and throwing things and making noise and threatening their family. Maybe now they said, no. You heard Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas said, we're not going to be bullied. We are not going to be. I've met Clarence Thomas. His wife has done a lot of videos for me. I'm going to tell you right now, the dude is very mild-mannered. He's very restrained. He's very controlled. But he is watchful. He is defensive of his wife. Loves that woman. And you're going to bring some liberal clowns to his home. Brother, the manhood comes out and the judge should leave. So Clarence Thomas said, we're not going to be bullied. We are not going to be bullied. And so all of a sudden, now, normally the decisions are made in June. The big decisions are made in June before they close for the session. They can go home and relax and go on vacation. But now they anticipate not being able to go on vacation, not being able to have peace in their home. So therefore, for you clowns, would it be interesting that this decision may not come out Monday? They're going to release the decisions on Monday. It may not be this one, but boy, it sure would be nice if we found out that the reason they rushed this up, because the decision is already made. More than likely, the deliberations are over. And what they do, they hear the trial, they hear the case, and then they go into deliberations where they sit down and chit-chat about it and try to convince each other to change their votes. And they're very polite. It's a very mannered process. And this was done, and more than likely, I think they identified the person, some liberal wanted to cause the chaos that they've caused, and they leaked it so that we could put pressure on these conservative justices to change their vote. Stay tuned to my site, leavetheplantation.org, and go there every morning, get your cup of coffee and go on that site and join the site. Register, subscribe. You get notified when I go live. You get notified of things that are breaking, and you can learn and study yourself. We have a lot of other resources we can bring to the site. We're not going to bring that until we get the membership up. It's not worth the expense to get the membership up. So join us, support us. Wouldn't it be nice though to find out that they were going to deliberate till June and decided, nah, we can put this thing to it now. No. Let's get it over with. Get the fools out here. I think it'd be very interesting. So wait till Monday to see. I'll be back Monday with another thought on this. Joe Biden's done a great favor for us, folks. Joe Biden, I mean, it takes a Joe Biden. It takes a Joe Biden. It took an Obama to give us Trump. It takes a Joe Biden to give us Trump, too. The 20 Mules is officially out. In case you have not heard about it, it is a documentary looking at the voter fraud, the last election by D'Souza. And it's a very interesting documentation. It's a very interesting set of circumstances, and you need to look at it. It is now number one. It's number one. And by the way, have you noticed on your sites, have you noticed the distractions on your personal Facebook and Twitter accounts? People are complaining, what's Trump doing, endorsing so-and-so? There's nothing to this 2,000 mule thing. It's just, and they're conservative people have been sitting there on your Facebook feed, your Facebook friends list for months or years as conservatives. All of a sudden you're popping up this little, but I think we should be this way. I think we shouldn't go here. That's a distraction, folks. These are people in your camp sitting there. You ought to go on. Wait till you get on Trump's Truth. Wait till you get on Trump's Truth to see the morons on that site trying to pretend they're conservatives. They're making comments. They're using the N-word. They're trying to pretend like they are Republicans so that we can start chewing at each other. Expect this. Ignore the ignorance. Ignore the darkness. Do not go off and try to chase these clowns down and correct these clowns. Let them say the words. Let them pretend they're you, but point them out. You're not a real conservative. You're not a real Republican. You're not a real Trump supporter. You have never supported Trump. Expose them to the other folks around you that may be a little easier to persuade, but you see them now everywhere, popping up, and they're being sincere. I'm just disappointed in Trump this time. He nominated Dr. Oz, and oh my goodness, I don't like Dr. Oz. I'm always amazed at people who tell you they don't like somebody they don't know. Interesting. There's someone, I was out here walking yesterday. This nice young lady was walking her dog, and we started chit-chatting, and she said, I know you're not, you couldn't be a Republican, are you? Yeah, I'm a Republican. Oh, I don't vote for any party. I finished the sentence for her. You just vote for the candidate, don't you? Yes. And I finished the sentence for her. You're independent, aren't you? Yes, I'm independent. I didn't vote for the party. I just vote for the individual. I said, ma'am, I've been meaning to ask someone that was independent, can you give me one of your strong, independent points of view? Give me one that you really feel strong about. She can come up with it. Ask any independent you know to give you a strong, independent issue. What policy? What strength? What's the most stressing thing for the government to do for you? Nothing. Independents are always Republicans. There are no independent Democrats. They know what they are, what they believe. They want you to divide yourself up. I'm not close-minded. I'm more independent. I'm more free. No. There is light and there's dark. There is right and there is wrong. And yes, you're going to upset the wrong by being the right. You're going to upset the left by being right. You're going to upset people when you take a stand on truth. So stop trying to dance around it. Get over it and upset these fools so they get out of your way. You're supposed to come out from among them. So when I hear this, I always ask, okay, what is this? What is this? This idea that we're supposed to have a common approach to politics. This is war. Government is the temple of the left. It is their God. It's what they worship under. It's where they get their source and their strength. That's why they do things that we think are stupid. Not because they're stupid. They're not stupid, people. They have a different indoctrination than you do, a different life policy than you do. They don't believe that men could get pregnant. They don't believe it. They know men cannot get pregnant. They know that men do not have menstrual cycles. They know that. But they want to convince the people, the followers, to do this stuff to weaken their minds. Because if you can believe that a man can get pregnant, you'll believe almost any doggone thing. If you ignore what you know is true and accept the lie because it's popular and you want to get your feelings hurt, you will accept any lie. And they know that. That's why they're in our face. They know it's wrong to teach a child about sex. In school, you argue these fools at city council. You have never seen in this country, at any school board meeting, some fool change their mind on the school board. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. So let's stop trying to convince them. Supreme Court's going to come out with their verdict. They're going to come out either Monday or in June, and they're going to upset all these fools, and they're going to scream and holler. And the only way we're going to think to stop the screaming and hollering is to surrender to them. Are you kidding me? They know that if you reduce the police, we have more crime. They know if you open the border, you're going to have more illegals and more rapists and more murderers and more crime and more people coming in that's going to take your jobs away and lower your standard of living. They know that. It's time we stop pretending they don't know it, and we got to teach them, understand them. Folks, they know it. They want the chaos. It's like a pig. They can only live in mud. So therefore, they're going to make some mud for you. So we have to understand this. Stop trying to get them. Go to our site every morning. Leave the plantation.org. Join us. I was going through some old videos yesterday, trying to make a new playlist on YouTube, and I've started going back years ago before Facebook banned me, and YouTube started noticing me. I was getting 10, 15,000 hits on a video, some 3 or 40,000, some in the millions of hits. Now, if I get 10, it's exciting. I'm using YouTube to store my stuff. I don't expect nobody to be there. We're going to go on Trump's Social, we're going to Gab, we're going to go on a couple other places to put our sites out. And when you go to these places, folks, don't forget, when Truth opens up in a month or so to Androids and everybody gets on with the Apple people, you're going to be disgusted with what you see because everybody is there. It's free. Free speech, free thought. So these idiots will come on there. They're going to start talking about, I've been a Republican for a long time. I just don't know about Trump. I just don't like that. I've been a Republican. I've voted Republican since I was a kid, and I just don't understand this. I don't know this stuff. And they're going to tell you how he treats women and how this candidate here treats women and black folks. And that's their game. If you know what's right, you don't have to explain to anybody else. If you know what's moral, you do not have to give anybody else an explanation. Don't let them challenge you like they're supposed to be convinced. You have to convince me you're not racist before you let you go through here. We have to convince us that you don't hate black people. You have to convince us that you're not mean-spirited. When you know they're the most evil people on planet Earth right now. So when the Supreme Court makes their ruling to save babies, watch them scream about the right to kill babies. Lord have mercy. But they can be saved. But they can only be saved if you are proclaiming the gospel. They cannot be saved if you're proclaiming you're killing your kids. You're destroying kids in schools. You're teaching kids that about sex. You're making little boys think they can have periods. They're not going to save them by arguing that point. Because if they're convinced by you and stop doing those things and still be unsaved, you still have failed. Church is the only source for victory through God. Church is the instrument that God uses. Church doesn't do anything. The left hates God. That's why they don't want you talking about him in the town square. So when the Supreme Court comes up with their verdict, watch the foolishness. But I still have not heard an answer to my question. By the way, I got my Let's Go Brandon hat on. Also have my cup. Yeah. Make folks upset. I haven't heard an answer to my question. What happens if 3 of the Supreme Court justices are disabled at someone's attack? Your politicians are encouraging attacks on the U.S. Supreme Courts in speeches in the White House, in the Capitol. You've heard them say it over and over again. Maxine Waters, push back, push. They're saying it. They're saying it. And some nutcase, they won't get somebody to do it. They won't have somebody set up. They won't pay somebody to do it. They're going to have these nutcases thinking, I'll be a hero if I take out Clarence Thomas. I'll be a hero if I take out Alito. And that's going to be the problem. What happens, folks, if 3 Supreme Court justices are killed or unable to serve and Biden has to replace them? What happens to our country? By encouraging them to go to the homes of these justices. Folks, I will tell you, there's not a lot of security of these Supreme Court guys walking around the Capitol. I'm telling you right now. I know for a fact. I know for a fact. I've walked with them. I've no security until they get to the courthouse. So, I mean, little security. You have to understand, the possibility of this happening is heavy. What happens? Are we going to sit there and watch them first steal the election and now steal the country and rule for 100 years? You white folks don't have a legacy of slavery. Black folks will lead the revolution. We're not going back there. I know the media, the noise tells you that most black folks are ghetto. Most black people are middle class. And we've come through this. We've stood on the shoulders of our grandfathers who fought this mess. We're not going back to the Democrat control, total control. If you want to know what's going to happen if Democrats control this nation, look at black folks in the South from the 40s to the 60s. Look at black people. You had not only zero rights, you had zero protection. I mean, zero protection. The sheriff was a member of the KKK. The police officers picked you up for no reason at all. You couldn't go to the restaurants. You couldn't go to the movies. You couldn't go to the theaters. You couldn't walk down the street at night. Total control of your life with no recourse to your government. You couldn't go to court. The judge was a KKK member. You couldn't go to the police. You couldn't go nowhere. That's the America they want. Democrats control the South the way they want to control you. You just look at history just 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and see how black people lived. Black-only lunch. They're going to have Republican-only lunch counters, Republican-only drinking fountains. They're going to put you in chains. You better look at what they do. Look at everywhere Democrats control, they are in tyranny. The people are in tyranny. Every place, every time in history. And some of my black friends, I'm just joking, I don't have any black liberal friends. I have black friends, but not liberal friends. They have come up and said repeatedly, well, that's different. They've changed. That's like a dude beating a woman down every weekend. And she breaks up with him every weekend. He says, I changed. And you go back to the fool. Democrats have never changed. They've changed their names, but they've never changed. They're liberals now, not Democrats. The Klan was Democrat. The Confederate Army was Democrats. The Party of Slavery was Democrats. We got Juneteenth coming up next month. They're going to be celebrated by Democrats. But they should be ashamed because Juneteenth was given to us by Republicans because Democrats had us in slavery. Once the Civil War was over, some of those southern plantation owners took their slaves to Texas, the territory of Texas, to try to establish a new slave state. It would have been harder for the Union to go into that slave state because it was never part of the United States, never part of our Union, never part of the country. And so the Civil War was going back to try to reestablish the country, but Texas was a territory. But the Union Army, Republican Army, let's stop calling it Union Army Confederate. Republican Army went into Texas to free slaves from the Democrat Army. So you watch that being celebrated in Juneteenth. They're going to celebrate those poor slaves were free for 2.5 years and master kept them working the fields. No, sir. They were not free until General Granger came in to Texas with his Republican Army and said, now you're free. Let's get back to it, folks. Watch this election, watch this announcement on Monday in tatters because they are anti-American, anti-government. It's just amazing. stay right or be left. Eternity, that's a long time to be wrong. Long time to be wrong, folks. Take care. See you next time. And join our site, leavetheplantation.org. Take care.